This week, we're in the Raj, some guy goes on fire, and the Confederados have an assault rifle. Let's get into it.
Come on to the After Dark Podcast. The podcast in which Sheriff Anthony does his best to wrangle Konrad through Westworld, one doggone episode at a time. So kick back and grab yourself some Apple Jack, or some Adam's Ale if that's your preferred poison, and get ready for these two wannabe cowboys to ramble the night away. Music was provided by the fantastic Nancy Wyatt and Jared Iscariot. Enjoy the show!
Hello, and welcome to the After Dark Podcast. I'm Anthony James, and that's Konrad.
Hello!
Hello, Konrad. How are you this week?
I'm very well. We've been complaining for the past few weeks about how warm it is in the United Kingdom, and as if in response to that, Westworld has taken us out of the frying pan and into the fire by going from the American West to fucking India. So we're heating things up in Westworld as things continue to be hot in the real world.
Yes, we are. So we were in the Raj, as you see. Westworld has given us lots of different parks out of nowhere now. Can we even call this show Westworld anymore? I'm not sure, but well, we will because that's what it's called. But you know. So Konrad, before we get into the recap, give us an overall idea. What did you think of the episode? More than one word, preferably.
I mean, okay, so there's some good and bad in this one. I continue to be incredulous at the number of Confederados who pop up every goddamn place.
So many of them.
They're like cockroaches. They're just you kill one and two more take its place. The India stuff I'm fascinated about. I've made no secret of the fact that I'm a big fan of samurai movies of Chambara, so I'm very excited about where the show looks like it's going in that regard. And I had some walking back to do on some problems I had with this series actually in this episode, which I won't spoil just yet. But there's some character stuff in this episode that really worked for me.
Lovely. Okay, well then let's get into the recap, Konrad. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Right. So, we start off in the Raj, a park that's based off a period of British rule in India. We meet a new character who's looking for a thrill, of the real variety. After getting to know each other, the new friends take a romantic trip to kill some beautiful animals. But oh no, their fun's ruined when a host comes at them with a gun. The guy, he gets killed, but the woman says, I don't think so. Maybe I'll have half your face instead. He obliges and the woman proceeds to run away from an attacking tiger. She manages to get a shot in, and then they both fall over the cliff. What follows is an episode full of my two favorite things, Confederados and betrayal. Dolores tells the Confederados that the humans are coming and then gives the main guy an assault rifle. He tries it out on the tortured milk guy who takes a leaf out of Rickon Stark's book and just runs in a straight fucking line until he meets his eventual end. Maeve then has a run-in with some Native Americans before running away. Dolores is reunited with her dad, and he remembers her. Maeve and Hector are reunited with the Snake Lady. Maeve is reunited with Felix. Maeve is reunited with Sylvester. Really? They did this 4 times in a few minutes? Charlotte meets up with her human friends and passes the human test. Good luck with that one, Bernie. Charlotte then steals Peter. Dolores betrays the Confederados and then goes full Terminator. Later on, she asks Teddy to kill Matthew McConaughey, but he chickens out, which makes Dolores sad. Start of the episode lady arrives in Westworld, and Maeve and her gang get jumped by a samurai. Did I miss anything? Alright, Konrad, so we start off in India. I think we will
just out of nowhere. Just out of nowhere. It's like, by the way, India.
Yeah. What I think is funny, actually, I know the name of this world is the Raj, so it's obviously the Raj. The
British Raj, or I believe is what the name for it was. Like
exactly,
probably turn of the century.
So there's Westworld, there's Shogun World, and there's the Raj. I think it's funny they just call it the Raj. Okay, so we get a new character at the start here. She is
a couple.
A couple of new characters. One of them lasts a little bit of time. So we get a woman who is sort of approached by a fella. He proves that he is a real person to her because she won't get jiggy with someone who's not. Because she wants them to really want it, whereas obviously the robots don't want anything unless of course they're like Dolores. But okay, so this whole thing happens. What did you think of the test? The test, Konrad?
It seems like a pretty severe method of testing, to be honest, based on what her motives seem to be, which is just that she seems to want, real emotion and human connection, which does beg the question why she's even in this park to begin with. You can have sex with humans in the real world.
Can you?
Yep, you can do. I've done it. I know for a fact you can.
I think. Oh yeah, look at you, big stuff. But I think. I think she actually just wanted to think, this guy's paying $50,000 a day to be with me,
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it's you get to kind of dress it up as something more than it actually is. I will say I was fascinated by this. I think it's an interesting part of British colonial history, but it seems like it's immediately fucked. So I don't know how much of this we're actually going to see. Aside, my main takeaway from this was the mention. I didn't actually catch the blonde fella's name, to be honest. Don't
know.
I suspect it doesn't matter. But he mentioned her hunting a wicked tiger, and I was immediately like, "Is this doing a Jungle Book thing? Are we going to get a Shere Khan?" And I kind of went back and forth on that joke in my mind, thinking, it's definitely not a real tiger that she's after. It's going to be like a play on words. And then a fucking tiger showed up, and it was like, okay, fine.
2 episodes ago, Konrad, there was a Bengal tiger washed up on the shore. The clues were there for you, Konrad. Yeah, but I figured it wasn't going to be as literal as they were setting it up to be, even though we had seen a tiger. And I thought it was going to be a bait and switch. Like a white whale. Yeah, exactly. But then, no, it's just a literal tiger. So, I will say, the CGI on that tiger was not great. No. I know. Obviously, you can't use a real tiger for obvious reasons, but it didn't look great. I think the budget must have went into the elephants because they looked pretty good. I thought they were okay. I'm pretty sure they were real. The elephants. No, they weren't. Those are real elephants. When I saw that, I was like, I'm pretty sure those are real elephants, which impressed me. But if those were CG, they were amazing. Should have used a real tiger then, to be honest. They gave us the little bait and switch, actually, Konrad. So she went into the thing, saw these dead people, and then he thought they were hosts or whatever. And then she goes, "I came with them on the train." But she waited a good 30 seconds to say it, and that probably caused that guy to get killed. Yeah, I mean, she kept him guessing and kept him in the dark for longer than she really needed to be honest. Yeah. I mean, and also, he didn't have very good awareness of his surroundings. Like the guy, the host who shot him, pretty much snuck up on him without needing to do any sneaking whatsoever. He just sort of walked up, drew a gun, and shot him in the chest. Which, survival instincts weren't really on point for that character. That's true. He felt too at home within the park, whereas I think this character she bought straight away that the hosts could be killing them. You know what I mean? It's not like she was saying, "Oh no, they can't kill us. They must have died some other way." She straight away was like, "Okay, this guy killed." And then she had a sawn-off shotgun. Like, that was pretty cool. That's her weapon of choice. I think she fired a little early at that tiger. Don't think it really did much did much to it. But we know that she came out unscathed from that encounter, and the tiger didn't. So it's a strong introduction for this character. Mowgli should take a few tips from her. That's all I'll say. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like Bagheera can learn a thing or two from this character, and then impart that knowledge onto Mowgli later on. It is one of the bare necessities, I hear. But anyway, I would love that to be part of the Raj world. Just there's a little section where but not the Disney Jungle Book. Well, they're both Disney Jungle Books. Not the original animated Jungle Book. The Bill Murray Jungle Book is happening. Or even worse, the Andy Serkis Jungle Book. Oh god, yeah, the one that no one remembers. Yeah. Right. Okay. So Peter Abernathy. Let's talk about him because he's so a cool rain on a hot day. Yeah. Peter Abernathy's back. Yeah, he's so hot right now. But I honestly, everyone's after him. Everyone's after him. Dolores is after him. Tessa Thompson, Charlotte's after him. Yeah, Bernard. I thought he knew the plan with Peter Abernathy, but no, he didn't actually. It's all going off with Peter Abernathy. He's great to have him back. I'm trying to think if Bernard did know, because I don't think I think Charlotte maybe alluded to the fact she wanted him, maybe, but they didn't actually tell him the plan.
Oh, okay. I was thinking that you were implying all the way back to is it Teresa, the security lady from the first season?
Yeah.
Whether she'd revealed it to him, because I don't know if she did, but it's possible Charlotte did.
Well, Peter Abernathy Peter Abernathy wasn't involved at that point. It was the big rock head guy at that point.
Yeah, that's true.
It was Lee Sizemore and Charlotte who went down to get Peter Abernathy from the cold
that's
storage.
True. But as you say, great to have him back. I mean, he's such a Lewis Hertham, the guy who plays Peter Abernathy, is just such a good actor, and he brings so much like presence to the role that it's awesome to have him back. Even though it's a little bit, as we said when they first picked him out, of the lineup of 5 billion hosts, and they just happen to land. They just happen to land on Lewis Hertham's character, who we've met before. I don't mind that, because I'm just glad to have him back. And the scene. I mean, first off, I don't know if they're going to do any more with this, but I love the introduction of this idea that they can just completely change the characters' personalities, but keep the actors the same. So getting the jobber bandit guy to be like some virtuous gunslinger, I was like, oh, this could be really fun if someone does this to like Teddy and turns Teddy into a bad guy for an episode or something like that. And I
have to be honest about that, Konrad. That guy with the bowler hat, who is the not bowler hat? It's like a little short top hat, is it? Yeah.
It's like a top hat.
The mustachioed bandit who turned into the lovely gunslinger. I actually like fooled myself. I've seen this second season once before, and for some reason I forgot they did that to him. So earlier, if you remember earlier in the first episode of season 2, he actually is on the beach in the future timeline, and he jumps in front of. They're going to gun them all down, and he jumps in front of the women and says, "Don't you hurt the women." Then the next literally like half an hour later in the same episode, he was like basically implying that he was going to sexually abuse women, and I was just like, hang on, what? This guy, the same character? I completely forgot that they changed his stats. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean that I hadn't even thought about that actually, but that makes so much sense now that I'm thinking about that he throws himself in front of those women. Yeah, it's a shame that we're not going to see any more of him, because I really enjoyed him. But I mean, talk about grabbing the baton and then raising the game even more. That guy does a great job in this scene, and then Peter Abernathy just singing "Glory, Glory" and annoying the hell out of Charlotte was so funny. Just absolute nonsense.
Peter Abernathy, I love the act that he's able to switch in and out of the different emotions. Like whenever Dolores finally comes over to him and he's like, "Dolores, is that you?" And then he like starts talking about the farm and all. Oh, it's so cool. It's so great. Yeah,
it's great. It is great. And I mean, that's I don't know if you wanted to talk about this now, but honestly, like for most of this episode, I was continuing my my like criticism of the show, in that I felt like their shift of Dolores to kind of the role of main antagonist has kind of pulled the emotional heart out of the show, because we've lost Dolores and we've lost Bernard. Really, we're not really getting a lot of like the kind of emotional core from Bernard either. And I felt like up until this point they're kind of trying to shift Teddy into that role, and it's not really working for me. But in this episode, the Peter Abernathy Dolores stuff was immediately just like bang, Dolores is back as a character, and it was it was long overdue, but it really worked for me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like, it's good to get. It's almost it almost as well implies that when she does get a connection back to that old Dolores, back to that old world, you sort of see it is still within her. And Peter brought it out of her, definitely. I mean, she did still tell her. Did she tell her father? She either told her father or told Teddy, but she did say she wants to dominate. Oh, she told Bernard, "I want to dominate this world." So
yes,
she is definitely positioned as the big bad, I still think. And I think that it's interesting because the show is doing something really interesting with her, which I'm not sure I like still. But I still think that they are positioning her as a bad guy, almost to the point where this Wyatt persona is coming across as a little evil. It doesn't it doesn't feel like to me, right, Konrad, it doesn't feel like the hosts are like the rebels from Star Wars. It feels like the hosts are the Empire, but we kind of still want, I mean, that's a bad analogy, but the rebel thing.
No, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, they're trying to do a sort of Spartacus style thing here, where they're inflicting violence, but you're still on their side. And I am still on their side, because I remember what happened in the first season, but I feel like what I feel towards these characters isn't necessarily being really being reflected in their behaviors to each other, but I think it's just kind of entropy that's carrying me along on their side, and the fact that there isn't really a strong character on the other side of that conflict that's bringing me in. I suspect they're trying to do it with like the Charlotte Bernard's duo, but neither one of those is really getting that much interesting stuff to deal with. So you're kind of following these characters along, and they're sort of acting like villains, even though you know that they're not really, and it's it's an odd tone that they're striking at the moment.
It is, and confirmation, guys, just so you know, confirmation, Bernard's tablet has the brain nut scanner device in the corner, so it is all the tablets that have it. So that was a proper retrospective change. But we saw the tablets loads of times last season, and they didn't have that on the corner. I think a physical change like that is mental to me. How could these creators have no integrity in terms of that? Like I couldn't even fathom doing that, you know?
I'll be interested to see where the like brain nut stuff goes, because at the moment it just doesn't seem that essential. I assume it has to be, because otherwise why would they do it? But it's an odd change for something that seems like something that they could have explained away with the technology they had at their hands in season 1, really.
Like, I would have, to be honest with you, Konrad, if I was on the set that day, I'd go, right, guys, why do we have to have the new technology on the tablet, which was never there? Can we not just have them plug it in, like, to the side of it, like a little USB port or something? Like, I don't really understand why they have to
like a separate device, like a little kind of, like a fob for your car keys, just a little nut scanner where it's like,
something that just doesn't, like, negate the whole prop design from the first one. That would be great. So we already talked about Peter Abernathy, but we had a lot of not only new characters with the characters at the beginning, but a lot of returns in this episode. Actually, we had Peter Abernathy coming back. We had Snake Lady, who, in the words of Hector, has got a dragon now.
Yes. Why do they have a flamethrower? Like, what? I mean, listen. I don't mind that she turns up still alive, despite bravely sacrificing herself. But if you actually think about that scene, like, she turns up with a flamethrower, still alive, still killing people, like, a week after shit has gone down. It's just, like, I don't mind it because it is cool, but it makes no sense. And, I will admit as well, like, I was brought down a bit by the fact that Felix and Sylvester show up, and then literally the next scene, I was like, oh god, these guys.
I kind of feel like Felix and Sylvester. Well, first time I watched this, to be honest with you, I don't know if I can really remember what happens with them. So this is kind of a theory on my part, but maybe it's just deeply recessed in my brain. But whenever I see them now, and like because of the way the park's gone to shit, I kind of view them like those two pirates from Pirates of the Caribbean. Mackenzie Crook being one who accidentally changed sides, and like, or not even them, like, you know, like the British naval officers who turn into pirates in the third one or whatever. Yeah,
they just like when the series just became "Oops, everyone's a pirate" kind of. Yeah, like they're at some point they're gonna do like a pullback and reveal that when Maeve said to Felix, "Oh, don't worry, you're human," it was actually a lie, and he's just a host as well. And then they can get rid of him without having to worry about the morals of it, because he could just be resurrected with the magic wand at some point. So many returns. I feel like Felix and Sylvester and the Snake Lady, they all came. Well, I suppose they were all kind of like a group, weren't they? They all came back, and she had a grenade in Sylvester's mouth, was it, or his neck? Or something? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I couldn't really tell where it was. I think it might have been kind of like hooked into his jaw or something, because he was speaking a little weirdly. But which was. I mean, it seems a bit unnecessary. I don't understand why she couldn't just handcuff him like she handcuffed everyone else. But I guess the implication is perhaps that she wanted him to shut up.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, the burning guy. Now, HBO seems maybe they're just like, this is like this season 2 now. It was huge in season 1. They're like, this is the next Game of Thrones. So they're trying to make it really huge, really spectacle, literally having a guy be set on fire. I know like the stunt guy got paid for it, but my personal opinion is, like, you know, my wife works in the film industry. She actually witnessed the world record burn in season 8 of which was like 15 guys or something get set on fire at the same time. This is serious fucking business. Like, setting someone on fire is dangerous, very dangerous. And this served absolutely no fucking point except for, hey, let's introduce this character who we've seen 3 episodes ago in a cool way. I don't think this was a legitimate, like, sort of story reason to risk someone's life.
It was the dude who'd had his face burned in the plastic stuff, wasn't it? In the that they burned.
No, in the white stuff. No, he got taken. He got taken away by the Confederados. I'm talking about the snake lady had her flamethrower and just burned this guy, and he started running down the corridor on fire.
Oh, okay, that guy. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's spectacle. You know, it's kind of. I can understand it because it's, you know, that it comes at that kind of midway through the midway point through the episode where we want to wake up the audience by, you know, an explosion or some action sequence, and this is what they landed on. But it is a bit, I don't know. It's not really an important character. It doesn't really have that much weight to it, and it's a cool reintroduction of the character, though. I guess, you know, it's nice to see her back, and it kind of reaffirms her status as a badass. So I don't mind it. I thought it was okay.
Yeah, okay, and I'm sure the stunt guy was happy with his fucking $5,000 or whatever he got, because they get a huge amount of money every time.
Yeah.
Every time they have to burn. Yeah, okay, so fair enough. Now, the Confederados, right? I don't really. They were just used as bait, basically. They were bait for the for the modern army guys, so that they could explode them with the boxes of gunpowder.
Yes.
What do you think about that? Like, and also it sort of leads to Dolores saying not everyone deserves to get in where they're going. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I've joked a lot about how the Confederados are essentially like the stormtroopers of Westworld. There are as many of them as the show needs them to be. It is a bit lazy, though, you know, the fact that I'm comparing them to Star Wars, which is, you know, Star Wars is fine, but it's not like, you know, the most complex of storytelling. And it is pretty damning for a show that actually can deal in some pretty deep stuff when it wants to, and be quite complex when it wants to. And I think the fact they've taken them from this like group of disenfranchised former Confederate soldiers who are, you know, buying guns from crime lords in the first season, and it was implied, you know, there's a handful of them left who are just hanging on to this conflict, to there just being as many Confederados as you need who still hold like bases and stuff like that, just feels a bit stupid to me. I would much rather there be a new faction introduced, or you know, just I don't know, change it up a bit rather than it just always being Confederados. And then the action sequence itself. Now, I'm not in the forces. I've never been in the forces, but watching a bunch of security dudes walk across an open field towards an entrenched position is some World War I level nonsense. It's just like it just felt like. It felt like someone had watched Lord of the Rings before they shot this, and they were like, "That's still how this fight would happen, even if everyone's got assault rifles." It's like that's not how you assault an entrenched position. But I mean, it was okay. Honestly, like the fort assault sequence, I was checking my phone at points because I was like, "This is just dumb." Like, and I know where this is going to end. Yeah. Like it kind of got to the point where I was like, "Just get to the bit where you pull the trap, betray the Confederados, and all these soldiers who are idiots anyway and are completely nameless die, so we can get on with the interesting stuff." Which is pretty damning, I think, for this show, because they normally do action pretty well, but this was not a good action sequence, I don't think.
Yeah, and maybe it's also because like the action these days is not sort of playing on the idea that it's within this narrative, that we're also seeing deviations from the narrative. It's now just an action show. You know, it's what we see happening is happening, and like there's no layers that all these hosts have done this before. There's none of those layers anymore. It's just
that's definitely a big part of it. And also I just think there's no stakes to it at the moment. It's sort of, you know, you've got Dolores and Teddy and the other lady whose name I can't remember on one side, and then you've just got a bunch of jobbers on the other side. Like, there's no stakes to this fight. It's obvious which side is going to win because one side has 3 main characters on it and the other one has absolutely no one on it, and it's like, well, this is literally just like you might as well just flash bright lights on the screen and say explosion, 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 explosion. Skip forward to actual important story stuff because there's nothing important happens in that action sequence.
Yep. Okay, fair enough. I get you. Something important does happen though after the sequence.
That's true.
Whenever Teddy refuses to kill. Well, he pretends he does, but the Confederado, little mustache man, he confuses, like little Matthew McConaughey type.
That's exactly what he reminds me of.
Right.
He just stands up when Teddy refuses to shoot him. He's like, all right.
yeah. Catch you down the road, brother. So basically, Teddy doesn't want to shoot him. Dolores sees this, and it stirs the Wyatt inside of her. I think she's disappointed with Teddy. I think she's disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I said before that the return of some of the emotional heart of the show is welcome when she has her sort of tearful reunion with her dad Peter, and that is great. I do also feel like they are sowing the seeds of dissent between Teddy and Wyatt, which is probably how Teddy ends up dead in that sort of inland sea where we saw all the bodies in the present day. So it'll be interesting to see how we get there, and probably quite tragic for Teddy, I think, because he, of all the host's characters, he's probably the one who's getting the most to do at the moment, I think. Like his struggle to deal with his loyalty to and commitment to Dolores and his kind of moral code is interesting to see, and I kind of wish they would shine more of a spotlight on it, 'cause at the moment he's just like, he gets the occasional moments, but I feel like he could be given more, because he's probably the most interesting character in the show at the moment, I think.
Yeah, it sort of speaks to me like James Marsden wasn't actually on set very often.
Possibly, yeah.
And therefore they couldn't give him a major role, so therefore he just has some things where he's just like looking off into space and stuff. But yeah, like PC, because even in the scenes where Dolores is the one speaking and he's standing next to her, he doesn't say much, which makes me think maybe James Marsden wasn't there a lot of the time. Yeah, okay, Konrad. Well, we've got a new segment this week. There was a moment in this episode where Lee Sizemore sort of basically said that Maeve and Hector should not be together because it's not in the story, it's not in the narrative, And I thought, why don't we ask the question, who else shouldn't be together, Konrad? So this is the new segment. Two star-crossed lovers holding hands, what else would lovers do? Lee Sizemore said it's not to be, and Hector said fuck you. And now they're walking hand in hand, looking for a child. Mr. Samurai, do you mind? Okay, so the new segment, we are going to be analysing relationships in real time. Konrad and I are going to be presenting one celebrity couple who we think, in the words of Lee Sizemore, should not be a thing. They shouldn't be together. So Konrad, I gave you about half an hour prep on this one. Who have you come up with?
So I always have one loaded in the chamber as far as this goes, and I'll preface this by saying it is purely motivated by self-interest and jealousy. The couple I have selected for this is, of course, Florence Pugh and Zach Braff, because Florence Pugh is amazing and Zach Braff is about 70 years old and made bad films.
Right, okay. I do that one is a bit strange to me too, because not even actually, I don't think the age is too much of a problem for me. When you're in I think it's all about context, you know what I mean? But at the same time, because Zach Braff is like a celebrity from a show when I watched when I was like 12 or 13, and Florence Pugh is literally only like coming out now. Yeah, it's like, hang on, these aren't the right generation of stars to be together.
It's just like you watch. Not that I want her to go through a sequence of like Hollywood relationships or anything, but it is a bit like you've saddled yourself the wrong horse here, Florence. Yeah. Like, come on, you could be dating, I don't know, one of One Direction or something like that. Think of the possibilities, but instead she's just like, no, I'm sticking with I'm no Superman over here, thank you very much.
It's funny you say that. This is not my couple, but I did actually think that Liam Payne from One Direction and Cheryl Cole was a weird pairing as well, because she was on the judges panel when he auditioned at like 14 years old, and now they have a baby together.
That is a little weird.
That is
more than
weird.
a little weird. I don't like doing the sort of reverse the situation between a man and a woman, because often that's a very bad faith argument. But I do think if you reverse the roles in that situation, there would be some questions asked.
Yeah. If exactly. If like a 30-year-old or a 14. Anyway, okay, it would be weird. But I think that's a good shout. Zach Braffin's Florence Pugh. It's a little bit like Jason Sudeikis and what do you call her? Olivia Wilde. Doesn't quite. There's something not right about that.
Yeah, so there's someone has some leverage over someone else in that relationship.
Yeah. All right. So my one is I came up with this one, and actually the funny thing is I really like them as a couple, but it's just something in me is just like, what's going on in the world? Like Zendaya and Tom Holland is my two, and the reason for that is because I view it's like the opposite for both people, right? I view Tom Holland as Peter Parker, 100%. I cannot view him as anything else. I view him as Peter Parker, but it's hilarious because I can't not view Zendaya as not Zendaya. So I don't view her as MJ. I don't view her as Mary Jane. I view her as Zendaya. So therefore, in my mind, Zendaya, the cool like sort of singer actress, is dating Peter Parker. That's really weird to me.
Well, I mean, I think from my perspective, like I almost called him Peter Parker then. Tom Holland grew up in the town that I also grew up in, and therefore I feel like I am vicariously dating Zendaya as well. And I can tell you right now, I would do a piss poor job of dating Zendaya, to be honest. So like, I can only imagine Tom Holland's doing a bad one as well.
Yeah,
and
fair enough.
So I'm against that relationship as a matter of principle.
Yeah, that's the self-deprecating humor of the Brits coming out of Konrad there. Right, Konrad. We've got one or two more things to talk about. Maybe one or so we're talking all about Maeve and Hector and stuff, and this storyline is. I'm going to be honest with you. At the end of season 1, when she gets off the train, a little bit like at the end of Friends, he got off the plane, right? When she gets off the train to go look for her daughter, that's a real awesome end of the series thing. It's like yes, she's gonna do it, and then they start writing season 2, and they're like, "Well, what's Maeve gonna be doing? Well, she's gonna be going to get her daughter." It's like, oh, this is fucking boring. Like,
yeah, they're making this story meander because they realise that they don't know how to fill 10 episodes of Maeve going to find her daughter.
Yes,
I have no doubt that by episode 9 or episode 10, we're going to get the emotional sequence where she finds her daughter, and there's some kind of reunion, or maybe it'll be an anticlimax because the daughter doesn't remember her, but there'll be some kind of conclusion to that arc. But it does feel like all this stuff that's happening in the middle is just spinning wheels until she gets there, which is not the end of the world. It's not the only television series that has characters kind of just holding fire until they get their moment in the spotlight. I think the problem for me is this storyline has started to draw attention to itself by some bad elements of the show, and I know we've just joked about it, but Lee's "you shouldn't be together, you're not programmed" is just the most like on the nose writing. It is really poor. Like it's a realization that I feel like that character would have come to 10 episodes ago than where he is at the moment. It doesn't feel true to his character, idiot though he may be. So I really didn't enjoy that little exchange. I mean, I think Maeve and Hector are carrying this plotline at the moment because they have natural charisma and chemistry with one another. So I'm still invested in it, but they do need to get a move on and start showing some forward progress with it.
Okay, awesome. Okay, the last thing I wanted to talk about then. We do get samurais.
Yes.
Samurai. Well, samurai and a fifth, we'll say, because we've got
a samurai head with a helmet, and then what might have been a ninja. Oh. We don't know. It's shrouded in darkness.
Yeah. I think I did see a sword though. Well, that could still be a ninja.
Ninjas can have swords.
Yeah. You're right about that. But okay, yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing that next episode. Konrad,
can I make a call about the samurai stuff? So, in any Western adaptation of samurai stuff, there are 2 actors that are called upon. I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is now and say one of these two actors is I don't know this. This is a blind shot here, but one of these two actors is going to be in this show. Either Ken Watanabe or Hiroyuki Sanada. One of those two actors is in this show because America does not know how to make samurai stuff without getting one of the dudes from The Last Samurai to appear in it.
Okay. Well, interesting. We'll wait and see. I know one of those names is definitely not in it. The other guy, I'm less.
Okay.
Sure about. I can't remember. There is a couple, like, sort of the bit, like, you know, you get a couple of samurais who are sort of the head honcho ones who could be one of those. But yes, so okay.
I'm super looking forward to this though. Like that I'm really excited about it because I love samurai stuff.
And it's a good thing that that's the Maeve storyline because that was starting to dwindle. So now we're getting the samurai stuff through that storyline. I will ask you this, Konrad. So you've said there that you know you're gonna make that prediction. There's a couple There's a couple of areas we could make predictions on this episode, and basically what I wanted to get from you is a theory, potentially. Now, your theory could be that there is no one, but the woman we meet at the start, do you think she's connected to the storyline in any way, or is she just someone who goes to the park, to the Raj, and ended up in Westworld at the end?
She must be important. She's got to be like the Ford equivalent of the Raj or something along those lines, you know. I feel like she knows how. If you were a regular guest in a park, you wouldn't be producing guns and shooting people to prove that they are human so you can have sex with them. I feel like my point about how you can go outside the park and have sex with humans maybe reveals that she's kind of stuck in the park because she works there or something along those lines. So I think she's going to be a significant player in that park and maybe in Delos as a whole. Although I don't actually know if it's been confirmed that Delos owns all the other parks or not. I think it probably has, but I can't remember.
Yeah, like exactly. Yeah, because they all got similar symbols, so I assume it's all the same company. But okay. So that's fair enough. And another question for you: we saw the tiger was able to walk through the laser beam. So, are we going to get the man in black going around on an elephant? That's the question for you.
Oh, that'd be great. What I want is for a kind of Ready Player One style sequence where the hosts of the manifold nations of the Westworlds and Shogun worlds and Raj worlds combine in one massive army, and they like turn up riding elephants and eagles and tigers and all sorts of weird and wonderful beasts. I don't know if the Man in Black will be with them. I honestly, I have no idea what the Man in Black is up to at the moment. Like his plot line is, I'm gonna shoot young Ford and I'm gonna go hang out with El Lazo. Like that's like his plan. And I'm gonna make Giancarlo Esposito kill himself. That's his plan so far. So maybe he'll end up in this. But I mean, he's another character where I'm a bit like, something needs to happen with you because you're a great character, but you're just kind of spinning your wheels at the moment. So if they do want to, fast track him to becoming part of some elephant cavalry, that's absolutely fine by me.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's what I kind of want to happen. So even though I know what happened to the end of season 3, even in season 4, I'm hoping for it. Like I'll never stop hoping for Ed Harris on the back of an elephant. But thank you very much, guys, for listening. This has been episode 3 of Westworld season 2. We'll be back next week with episode 4 of season 2, and if you want to support the podcast, there's loads of links in the description below. We have a subscription button, would you believe? It's a little red one. You can click it. It says subscribe on it. You can also like the video. That'll help us a lot. And if you want to send us an email, it's adpodmail@gmail.com. Haven't said that for a while, Konrad. Thanks very much, guys, and I'll see you later. Bye.
Sayonara.